Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Dalaran, and in today's video, I want to talk about Soulbinds, which is going to be one of the two biggest systems in the next expansion of Shadowlands. We've talked in the past about Covenant abilities, which are class-specific abilities that each Covenant offers you, as well as Covenant-specific abilities, like the Necrolord Flesh Shield. We got the Vial from the Kyrians. We got the Fox form if you want to go with Ardenwald Fae, or if you're one of the Venthyr, you have a Teleport. Well, Soulbinds are going to be extra ways that your classes can get enhanced. Think of them like artifact weapon traits in a way, but you get some customization in between of which traits you would want. So in this video, I want to go over all the information we have about the different Soulbinds, because choosing your Covenant have gotten a lot harder. Not only do you have a choice of one of the best Covenant abilities for your class, but also the passives, which will drastically affect the way that you play the next expansion. So taking a look at the Soulbinds, the actual binds themselves, it's a little bit difficult to figure out if they go from top to bottom or from bottom to top. I believe it goes from top to bottom and will alter your class in a variety of ways. You see icons with specific abilities, which we'll go over in a second, but you also have gems inside of your Soulbinds of various colors. You have blue, red, and yellow, and these will be class gems with class-specific abilities. These are customizable, so there will be a variety of red gems that alter your class with class-specific abilities in a variety of ways, blue ones, and yellow. And that can be something like red can be defensives, blue can be offensives, and yellow can be utility and such. We actually have a couple of those gems to take a look at here, so I want to really take a look at one of these Soulbinds, some of the different effects it comes with, and then take a look at some of the class stuff that you can kind of garnish the Soulbinds on top of. So the first Soulbind will be from Forge Light Prime Mechanicos. I think that's how you say it. I don't really know for certain. Hopefully I'm not butchering it too hard with whoever at Blizzard designed and chose that name. Starting at the top, which I think is going to go top to bottom, we have a couple different ways that Soulbind from this specific soul will be able to alter your character if you choose to bind your soul with them. First one is going to be a choice of charged additive. Vile Serenity also knocks nearby enemies away from you, like a thunderstorm knockback. Or Forge Light Filler. When reduced below 35% of health, your Vile Serenity automatically heals you and consumes a charge. So this is going to be a way that it alters your class Covenant ability, or non-class Covenant ability. So this will be one of the ways that all the Kyrian Soulbinds will first of all alter that ability, depending which one you go with. So here, you can either have a vial that you can use to also knock back enemies. I think this can be useful in Mythic Pluses as well as in PvP. I can imagine having a rogue with this vial, you know, trying to cap the lighthouse. The demon hunter jumps him, and a rogue uses a vial to gain the knockback effect in lighthouse or in lumber mill. And then you have Forge Light Filter. So this one can be really good when it comes to emergency situations. So if you're someone who PvPs a lot and you decide to Soulbind, or maybe you're a tank or a healer in raiding and you feel like there's moments where your health just kind of jumps up and down, you can use this ability instead of the charged additive in order to gain an extra heal on emergency situations. You have a variety of different class abilities to pick from, and then scrolling down forwards is Soul Steel Clamps. After 5 seconds of standing still, an incoming stun and incapacitation effects are reduced by 30%. Lasts for 5 seconds once you start moving. So it seems that this effect is constantly active. So if you PvP a lot as a healer, or maybe you can use it in dungeons for certain mechanics, this can be used in order to sit stun effects a lot less. Then you have one in the middle, Sparkling Drift Globe Core. When reduced below 35% health, you're stunned nearby enemies for 3 seconds. This effect may only occur once every 5 minutes. I can definitely see this being very useful for a healer inside of Battlegrounds. So this seems to be like a really good for healers, but also could be good for DPS with some PvP focus. So maybe somebody who PvPs will Soulbind themselves to this character. Another one we have is Hammer of Genesis. Damaging a new enemy grants you 2% haste for 10 seconds up to 5 stacks. This can be very useful if you do a lot of Mythic Pluses and you are going to be hitting multiple enemies, and especially if your group likes to chain from one trash bag into the next, you could probably maintain the stacks of the haste buff quite effectively. Or if you're someone who does a lot of Battlegrounds, damaging a new enemy can give you a nice buff. Then we have some class abilities for you to pick and choose from, with mostly having 1, 2, and 3 blues, 2 reds, and 2 yellows. Then towards the bottom we have Resilient Plumage. Fall damage decreased by 20%, and after falling, the damage you take is reduced by 20% for 15 seconds. This could be useful in Mythic Pluses, raids in some situations where there is fall damage, Definitely could be useful in some battlegrounds, but overall it could be also for world questing and maybe getting a world quest done. So this could be particularly good, maybe if you're someone who does world PvP and there's a lot of high up spots and you're not a class with wings like a demon hunter, this could be quite good. Or you can go for regenerative materials. Casting or receiving healing has a chance to improve the remaining durability of your armor, which could be quite good if you're someone who does a lot of raids and wipes and bosses a lot, so you need to spend less time and money repairing your gear. And the final penultimate ability would be Bronze Call to Action. After using 120 spells and abilities, the next spell or ability summons Brawn, who attacks and heals your target. So this one seems really interesting. I wonder how strong Brawn is. But this Soulbind seems to have a little bit more focus on what seems to be PvP in some aspects with the stun reduction, but it could also be used in dungeons as well. And taking a look at some of these gems, this is going to be kind of how you combine the Soulbinds that already alter the way your class will play in generalized way with certain specific spec related or even maybe just more class related gems. And I want to take a look at those really quickly. So we have some of those gems and abilities that have been data mined. We don't know which ones are red gems, blue gems, or yellow gems, but we have some abilities that Blizzard already has put up for on the alpha. Not something we can play with, but something that can be data mined and we can read and take a look at. Mages have 4 abilities. It's stuff like increases damage of ice lands against frozen enemies by 10%. Pretty simple. Icy Propulsion. While Icy Wind is active, your crits reduce the cooldown by 3 seconds. That could be pretty strong with a high crit build. But Shivering Core, Blizzard damage and snare increased by 5%, so a better Blizzard in order to slow enemies down could be useful. Unrelenting Cold, Frozen Orb damage increased by 10%, so it could be some, like, simple snare increase by 5%, maybe some cooldown reduction, or just simple damage increases. So this is going to be kind of how you can fill out your abilities. With Warrior, we see some of the more interesting abilities as well. Something that actually kind of changes the way you use certain abilities, or enhances them in other ways. We have Indeligible Victory. Impending Victory or Victory Rush heals you for 400% of the damage it dealt over 8 seconds. Which is interesting. I don't really know if Impending Victory does damage over 8 seconds, or maybe it heals you based on the last 8 seconds worth of damage that you took or something, or maybe it alters the ability completely. It's really hard to tell. Safeguard, it even reduces damage taken by the target by 10%, which is quite good. Iron Maiden, Protection, Initial, Protection or Initial being the spec that you start with before you select the spec. Revenge is a 4% chance to refund a charge of shield block. For Arms and Fury, Slam has a 4% chance to refund a charge of shield block. So even as Arms of Fury could get shield block, which is interesting. I know in a dungeon or a raid you probably don't need shield block, but in PvP against a rogue, that could actually be quite value in some cases. Crash of the Ramparts, Overpower has a 6% chance to apply Colossal Smash for 3 seconds. Definitely an Arms Warrior based ability. But also a little bit of this percent chance for Colossal Smash to give a little bit extra moment of burst could be interesting. Cacophonous Roar, Intimidating Sound could withstand 80% more damage without breaking. So for warriors that do a lot of PvP, or warriors that are trying to do Mythic Pluses, and there's always a Warlock dotting the adds up, this ability might end up holding just for a little bit longer as the Warlock dots tick away. Merciless Bone Grinder, Slam Critical Strikes, reduces the main cooldown of Ravager Blaze-Stone by 1 second. Interesting. Definitely would make you want to use Slam a lot more often as an ability. Inspiring Presence, Rallying Cry duration and health grants is increased by 20%. It's very similar to an Azerite trait we currently have right now, like a minor Azerite trait. So you have certain abilities that are minor Azerite traits, and then there's also flat damage increases with certain abilities. They're almost like glyphs. In a sense, they're almost like glyphs from old school WoW days. We have Ashen Juggernaut. Execute increases critical strike chance of execute by 3% for 8 seconds, stack it up to 6 times. This is not a legendary, it's I believe it's an artifact power trait, artifact weapon trait for either, I think, Fury or Arms Warrior from back in Legion. Stalwart Guardian. Arms, the cooldown of dab by the sword is reduced by 5%. For Fury and Rage Regen, and for Prot, it's going to be Shield Wall. With Brutal Vitality, 6% of the damage you deal adds to your active Ignore Pain could actually be good whether you're Arms, Fury, or Prot. So it seems like you might be able to maybe craft yourself to be more defensive if, let's say, you're going to be Arms Warrior PvPing a lot, or if you're going to be doing dungeons and raids, you can go for more offensive with specific utilities that you choose. Now, I don't think this is a full list of all the different utilities we have, and maybe this list is going to be massive. Also, we have no idea how to get these class-based gems, so that's still all up in the air. But let's go back to some of the different Soulbinds, take a look at some of the more busted and overpowered effects. Take a look back at the Soulbinds. We'll continue with the Kyrian. We got Clea. We start with Fast and renders you immune to curses, poisons, diseases, and bleeds. Imagine using this against ferals within arenas or against rogues that are going in for full vendetta. After 5 seconds out of combat, gain a shield for 10% of your health lasting 30 seconds. Could be great if you do PvP or PvE, especially if you're going Myth Plus dungeons, you know, going from trash pack to trash pack. And the penultimate ability is Valiant Strikes. You and your nearby allies, critical strikes, grant you a stack of Valiant Strikes, up to 40%. At 40 stacks, you heal nearby allies for 5% of the maximum health over 10 seconds. This could be good for probably a healer, maybe even a tank, but as a DPS, I feel like it'll be kind of weird. I mean, the heal could be maybe nice if you're going for a hybrid build, like a paladin that's a retribution, but also you go for a bit of healing. Maybe could be useful. So we have Pelagos here, and we'll go through them pretty quickly. Let go of the past. Using spells or abilities increase your versatility by 1% for 10 seconds. Using another spell or ability increases this amount by 1% when it's not a repeat of the previous ability. I think monks are just gonna have a baseline extra versatility just because. Combat Meditation, the penultimate ability, activating a Kyrian class ability, increases your mastery by 5% for 20 seconds, and occasionally expels sorrowful memories. Walking through sorrowful memories extends the effect by 3 extra seconds. This could be quite good for a long-term duration of 5% mastery increase. Not saying that it's going to be amazing, but that seems to be an awesome ability for the combat capabilities. Alright, we got Necrolords next. Some of the things we'll have is inflict shadow damage to your attackers over 5 seconds when hit at melee range. Could be really good for a tank who's going to take a beating. Defeating enemy reduces flashcraft's cooldown by 1 second, so you can use your shield a lot more often. Seems interesting. The penultimate ability would be Forgeborn Revelries. Upon death, your armor continues to fight, allowing you to fight for additional 10 seconds. During this time, your damage and healing done is reduced by 50, and you cannot receive healing. Wow, this is kind of cool. Imagine in PvP, like doing 2v2s or 3v3s, you get a healer super low, and then let's say your healer dies, and they can continue healing you for a little bit longer until you can finish off them and then maybe have a 1v1 with another enemy. This could be really cool. It's kind of like a Second Wind or a Last Stand from Call of Duty back in the day. I really like the effect, and this seems really, really strong. This could also be good for maybe like a Warlock, right? Warlock dies inside of Raid, and they're like, oh man, I'm dead. Let me soul myself while this Revelries sits, and then you actually die, and then you can come back because you soulstone yourself. This could be really useful. We got Emily from the Necrolords with a starting ability. Magnificent Skin. When you use Necrolord class ability or spell, you gain a stack of Emily's Magnificent Skin, stacking up to 4 times. Using Fleshcraft consumes Magnificent Skin to increase your maximum health by 5% per stack for 2 minutes. That could be really good inside of raids, for example. Sulfuric emissions, when your health reduces below 20%, you fear nearby enemies for 3 seconds. This could be quite good in PvP. And the big ability is going to be Runescribed Bone. Oh, this one is a lot to read. Each enemy defeat grants you a stack of Runescribed Bones, reducing magic damage taken by 1% for 30 seconds. At 5 stacks, your Soulbind traits are empowered. So if you have the Magnificent Skin, releases stacks, deals damage, whether it's spell power and attack power. Damage to nearby enemies increased by 1% per stack. Then you have legs with shield amount is doubled. Kidney stone cooldown reduced, cooldown reduction doubled. Whistle toes, movement speed is increased, haste increased, fear duration increased by 2 seconds. Interesting. Wow, so this just empowers all the other previous abilities. So that's an interesting combo. We got Volatile Solvent. Using Fleshcraft with nearby corpses derives benefit from a corpse, different based on creature type. I know there was a list of like, it's like crit, versatility, stats, chance for damage, chance to heal yourself, based on the type that the enemy is, whether they're demon, beast, humanoid, undead, aberration, whatever it may be. So I'm pretty sure there's going to be a big list at a later time, but that seems kind of cool. This one is interesting. Kevin's Keyring allows opening of locks that require up to 600 skill. So if you're not a rogue, you can lockpick. Each second spent channeling Fleshcraft reduces Kevin's Keyring cooldown by 1 hour. So I guess this might have like a 24-hour cooldown. So in a day, you might be able to... What's the cooldown of Fleshcraft? 2 minutes. So maybe in 1 hour, you might be able to reduce it quite a bit. And finally, penultimate ability, Ultimate Form. Fleshcraft renders you immune to crowd control. Fleshcraft is a pretty small shield, but that could be so good for certain fights. Imagine in raid, if there's an MC mechanic and you're a healer and you don't really take damage, you can immune the MC completely. That could be really, really cool. Or if you're trying to, let's say, ahead of a fear, you try to establish a shield, just even getting one single tick of that shield, it renders you immune from fears or polymorphs. So that could be quite useful in PvP. Then we have ourselves Night Fae with Field of Blossom. When Soul Shape ends, which is your travel ability if you choose the Fae Covenant, you increase the movement speed of nearby allies by 15% for 15 seconds. Could be useful within PvE content. Falling farther than 20 yards, Fairy Dust slows your fall. So if you're someone who doesn't, again, not a demon hunter, and you maybe want to go exploring, then Fairy Dust can slow your fall. So that could be really cool. Finally, Pot Tender, when you would take damage that would kill you, instead rejuvenate you with a pod, regain 30% of HP over 10 seconds. If the pod takes more than 10,000 damage during that time, you die. So this will depend on how much health everybody has and how much damage everybody can do. So let's say your healer is getting slain in arena. If you're able to peel for them long enough, over 10 seconds, then at least they'll regenerate 30% of their health. But if you damage the pod fast enough, then it's over. This effect may occur once every 30 minutes, so this could be quite good for PvP or PvE. I do hope that, you know, the damage isn't so high in this in Shadowlands, where a player can just like take this pod out into globals. But I guess only time will tell. We got Kyrian, at least I'm hoping I'm saying it right. When Soul Shape ends, increases movement speed by Soul Shape increases movement speed of allies within 40 yards by 10%. So while you're Soul Shape, you can have your party travel a little bit quicker. Or you can go for Wild Hunt Charge. While out of combat, your Soul Shape's teleport becomes a charge, stunning the target for 2 seconds and ending your Soul Shape. So you can kind of have a stun on an enemy if, let's say, you're coming out of combat. That could be quite interesting. Penultimate abilities, Final Moments. Your healing and damage to a target below 35% health is increased by 3 seconds. When an ally dies, your benefit is increased by 500% for 30 seconds. This enhancement may only occur once every 5 minutes. So if an ally of yours, like in arenas, battlegrounds, maybe inside of a raid or a dungeon, falls, I mean, I think even some people might even be like, okay, let's just make sure you die so I can have the most burst for best parts inside of raid. I think that could totally become a real mechanic or real way for people to do more damage. This seems really strong for Kyrian, this final ability. That seems really, really good. And we got Nia, however you say it. With Sylvari Mantle, when Soul Shape ends, you're concealed until you move. So if you're someone who wants to catch a re-stealth, maybe get yourself a sippy cup in arena, you could totally do that. That seems fun. Or in role PvP. Then there was this one I saw before, Naya's Tools Poison. Your interrupts apply Naya's paralytic poison to the target, doing spell power and attack power nature damage over 30 seconds. Targets with Naya's paralytic poison take additional damage when they're interrupted once more. So I wonder if you could just put up a interrupt and then just keep interrupting the enemy over and over and over. In PvP, that could be so good, or even in dungeons. The big ability for Naya is going to be Grove Invigoration. When you use Night Fae class ability or spell, you gain 10% mastery, slowly fading over 5 minutes. That seems quite good if you're a class that uses a lot of mastery and has a Night Fae ability that could be used quite often. Finally, we have the Revendreth, the Venthyr Covenant with General Draven. With General Draven starting with Expedition Leader, leaving the rested area increases your mounted speed by 10% and out of combat regeneration by 100. Could be good for world quests. The big ability for him is going to be Call to Action. Activating your Venthyr class ability grants a 10% versatility to you, 4% versatility up to 4 other allies, last 10 seconds. This could be quite good in terms of the damage you could do with your allies. For Rogue, being the ability is Slaughter, you have to burn a Vanish just to be able to use it. So I wonder how often Rogues will actually get value out of this ability, which seems like it sucks, but if your class that uses the ability quite often, hey, 10% Versa, it's quite a bit of damage. We have Nadja the Mistblade, at least I'm guessing it's Nadja, with first ability, Agent of Chaos. Doorway of Shadows disorients all nearby enemies at the target location for 8 seconds when you appear. The Doorway to Shadows is a teleport ability. You think of it like Heroic Leap or Grapple Hook with like a reticle with starting position, end position. Kind of like a Reaper from Overwatch teleport. Actually, exactly like Reaper from Overwatch teleport. So wherever you choose to go to, you can use this in order to create extra CC in PvP. This could be insane. Or you could go for fancy footwork, Doorway to Shadows increases movement speed by 80%, decaying over 6 seconds if you really quickly need to get away. The big ability from Naja is going to be Thrill Seeker. While in combat, you gain stacks of Thrill Seeker every 2 seconds or 4 stacks upon killing an enemy. At 40 stacks of Thrill Seeker is consumed to grant you Euphoria, speeding up everything you do by 20% for 10 seconds. Thrill Seeker decays rapidly while you're not in combat. I have no idea what they mean speeding up everything you do. I'm gonna guess it's haste, or maybe very similar to like haste and global cooldown is much slower or lower in order to allow you more abilities to be used, but this seems like a really strong ability for DPS, but also could be good for healers. We also have Theodore the Mad Duke. Watch the shoes. Door of Shadows frees you from roots and snares. Could be quite good for repositioning in PvP. Then we also have Leisurely Gait. Door of Shadows is instant cast, but its cooldown is increased by 30 seconds. This ability has a pretty short cast time, but if you want to reduce it or remove it completely, you definitely could with this ability. The big ability for him is Matter of Perspective. When you would suffer a lethal damage, instead gain Peculiar Perspective, preventing all damage dealt to you and healing you for 50% of your health prevented over 4 seconds. You may only benefit from this effect once every 8 minutes, basically achieve death for tanks, healers, and maybe even DPS. So Soulbinds are huge, we can already tell. They have some insane effects. So let's say if your class did not get the strongest, the most powerful Covenant ability, let's say Venthyr, like Rogues and Slaughter. Let's say Slaughter is the most useless poison in the game ever. However, your Soulbinds are insane. So when you choose your specific abilities for your covenants, you also should look at some of the various passives you might be able to pick up if you pick that covenant. There's so much more to picking covenants, from the actual transmog and the looks of it, from the covenant abilities you'll be using regularly, from the Soulbinds that you will be able to adjust, and then there's the class specific things that we haven't even taken a look at, those class specific gems to alter your class in various ways. Now, in a way that I look at it, we are dropping one borrowed power, and in a sense we are picking up another. However, I think Soulbinds give you at least a little bit more customization. There's extra passives for us to look forward to and play, and certain passives will probably be used in future expansions to develop our specs and classes even further. But I think it's also going to be really cool to see 2 warriors, one from Necrolord Covenant, the other Kyrian, and have them play with different passives and different abilities depending on which covenant you choose. So if you're a huge fan of customizing your character in a variety of ways, I think this will be expansion for you. I cannot wait to see what these covenants are going to feel like when we are finally able to test them, when hopefully it comes out to alpha or maybe in a future beta. But the faster we get to test them and see them, the better, because they will definitely play a major part in how our classes play. Anyway, this video is way too long, and I want to cover all the different Soulbinds we have to look at. I cannot wait to see what rogues are getting in terms of specific abilities, and how we'll be able to customize ourselves. This seems like a very interesting system, maybe even borrowed from other versions of games that Blizzard might have put out. Maybe it's like a Diablo-esque system, we just don't really see it until someone points it to us. But thank you guys so much for checking out this video. I really do hope you guys enjoyed. You let me know what you think about the Soulbinds, and I'll see all of you guys in another video.